Hey guys, so this is gonna be answering your assumptions about me. I've been seeing this pop up in my YouTube watch list a lot lately, and I thought it'd be really fun. So I put it out on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, I'll put my username here. But some of these are really funny. Like, I'm just wondering if people actually assume this about me or they are wondering this about me. But either way, I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. You guys sent in a lot. A lot of them were repeated too. But I think this will be really fun. Kind of a good way to get to know me if you haven't been here for a while. And know me, I guess, on more of like a personal level. Just, there's a lot here. Okay. So I'm going to go from like the very first ones. Okay, one that I had a lot on here was that you barely raise your voice at your kids. I wouldn't say that I yell at them a lot, but I do raise my voice. I wouldn't say it's like a daily thing, but I have. You don't live beyond your means to impress people or go along with social media. This is 100% true. I've never lived beyond my means. I never will. There's just nothing worse than like struggling, and I wouldn't do that just to upkeep an image or upkeep something for someone else. Like, I'm just gonna do what's best for my family and I. That you have a secret snack stash that even Dan can't find. This is very true. Not often. It's not like a permanent thing, but I will say I may or may not have hidden a couple boxes of Girl Scout cookies this past year. And I'm not like a binge sweet snack eater, but I'll want them to be there, like when the time comes that I want them, and if I left them in the pantry, they'd be gone in a day. So yes, I guess I'd consider that a secret stash. I assume you have no plans of ever returning to a traditional corporate work life. This is true. Do I have plans to return to work? Yeah, once the kids are in school. Do I plan to ever go back to corporate America? Heck no. I feel like once, at least for me, like my personality type, now that I've gotten a taste of like being my own boss and working for myself, it's not that I wouldn't go back into, like, I'd be okay with having a boss again, but I would probably stick in something like sales where I have flexibility. Definitely not working in corporate America. I didn't mind it when I was there, but now getting a taste of like what it's like to not do the 9-to-5 mundane thing every day, I would never go back. And I'm not knocking it. I know it works for a lot of people, but it's just not for me. You don't speak much about your faith. Are you Christian? I'm Catholic, and I like to keep my channel light and bright. You guys come here for, I would hope, like a release of the real world and how freaking crazy and insane and sometimes depressing the real world is, and I'd like to think that my channel is a release from that, where we can just talk about material things and fashion and fun things that aren't serious. So yeah, I don't talk about faith, I don't talk about politics. It doesn't mean that I'm not religious or don't like have an interest in politics. That's not what my channel's about. So I just like to keep it light, and I feel like talking about those things, it takes away from it being light. Hyperactive or do things fast, walk fast, talk fast. This is true. I have never considered myself hyperactive, but I don't know. Growing up, I've always been like this. And I think a lot of it has to do with just living on the East Coast, because when I go on vacation to the West Coast, even down south, like, to me, it is so slow, but to other people, it's like normal. But I know, especially when Dan and I are traveling out west and we go into a restaurant, like, you could be in and out in a restaurant in here and in New York in like 40 minutes. But in California, you could be sitting there for like 10 minutes before anyone even comes over to greet you. And around here, that's considered like rude and bad service. But out west, it's just like how it is. Like, people just take their time. Nobody's in a rush. And while I admire that, I feel like I don't know what to do with myself. I feel like my whole like lifestyle and being, and even just like my work, like even in corporate America, has always just been very fast paced. So that's just kind of how it is. And I definitely think I get this from my dad too. Like, my dad just recently retired, and he was like going stir crazy. He didn't know what to do. Like he didn't know how to just relax. And he had a very, I don't want to say stressful, but like very demanding job his whole life. And my brothers and I have always told him like, enjoy this. You've worked so hard for it. Like you deserve it. He just doesn't know what to do with himself, like sitting around. And I'm definitely the same way. I want to participate, but I have no assumptions. I just love you and that you share your life with us. Thank you, Kelly. You have a good relationship with your ex. I have a great relationship with my ex. There was actually a couple. Another one on here is it's hard to be around Nick. And this is 100% false. Nick and I have a great relationship. I think we co-parent seamlessly. Very lucky that him and I have the relationship that we do, especially when I hear about how other people, you know, co-parent and the struggles they go through. People that I know in my real life, people that have shared with me their stories on social media. It makes me very thankful and grateful that we have the relationship that we have. We're usually 99% of the time on the same page when it comes to her and decisions for her, which makes it really super easy. And even the few times, like handful of times that we've disagreed on something, it doesn't go south. Like we're able to have a conversation and talk about it and agree to disagree. It's not hard to be around him. I'm around him a lot. Go to her appointments together. A lot of times like he'll bring her and I'll meet them there, or vice versa. Like we're at the hospital together sometimes. Like, so we spend a lot of time together because we're both obviously very involved with Addie. Sticking to that, there was an assumption on here that says you don't get along with Nick's wife. And this is being like totally transparent with you guys. I'm just like even keel with it. I don't feel like we have a bad relationship. We just don't really have a relationship. And I think her and I are both okay with it. More importantly, I think Nick is okay with it. And most importantly, Addie is okay with it because she doesn't know any different. Some might disagree and say like, you know, we should for Addie's sake. But there's been things that have happened in the past. It has zero to do with like Nick and I and what happened between him and I and her, especially when Addie got sick. That just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I just don't agree with, and it's really hard for me to get over. I don't feel like as Addie's mom I should have to get over, or I should have to be okay with. So we just kind of leave it as is. Nick is extremely respectful of the fact that her and I's relationship is where it is. You know, I wish them the best. I have spoken to her. I've said this to her, like, I wish you guys the best. I really do. I want them to be happy for Addie's sake. They're new parents to twins, and I think that's amazing. Like, we took Addie to the hospital to see them the day that they were born. I love that Addie has her sister. It really doesn't have anything to do with her and I. It has more to do with Addie, and as long as she takes care of Addie the way she should be, and if she loves her the way I need her to love Addie, especially when I'm not around, all I've ever asked of her to her. But as far as like her stepmom and I ever having a relationship, I don't know, maybe time will tell. But for right now, like in this place, I don't think her or I are losing sleep over us having the relationship that we have. My cousin Angelina, you know exactly how to do your makeup when you wake up. I'd say that's true, and I do my makeup the same way every day. You are a positive and optimistic person. That's definitely true. I always try to find the good and the happy and the positive, and I think just life and my experiences has taught me to always look to the positive, because things can always be worse. Even when they're bad, they can always be worse. You've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and don't plan on working outside of the home. This is actually false. I've always wanted to be a mom, yes, but I never had dreams or plans to be a stay-at-home mom. And actually, when I was pregnant with Addie and the job that I was in, I loved my job. And I begged and pleaded my work to just let me go part-time, because I knew I didn't want to be full-time, you know, being a new mom and everything. But I really didn't want to lose my job. I loved it so much, and it brought me so, it like fulfilled me so much. And they were just like adamant that it was a full-time position. That's when I decided to stay home. At that point, I wasn't looking to like, I don't think I would just work just to work if I was fortunate enough that I didn't need to, but I just really loved that job. And so they brought in somebody to replace me, and actually 4 months later, she quit. So they called me back to just like get a new person up and running. And so I got to experience like working part-time while having a 4-month-old, and it was awful. Like, it kind of, like they say things work out the way it's supposed to, because I'm a very all-in kind of person, whether it's my job, my work, my relationships. Like, I am all in, and I don't half-ass things. Like, if I am gonna half-ass it, I'm just not gonna do it. And so it was really hard because Addie was only 4 months old, and I was breastfeeding a lot. So I was like, and I was in sales, so I was constantly like finding parking lots and pulling over on the side of the road to pump in my car. But that aside, like, the emotional part of just being away from her, being so little, was excruciating for me. And I was not focused at all. Like, I would be calling my mom 10 times a day, like, just checking up on her. My mom's like, she's still sleeping. Like, she's still eating. Like, at 4 months old, there's not much going on, but I just couldn't physically, like, be in the mindset, and that's not fair. That wasn't fair to my job. So it kind of gave me a taste and made me realize, like, I really, at that point in my life, needed to be a stay-at-home mom. Everything just happens the way it's supposed to. My mom was always a stay-at-home mom growing up. That never, like, caused me to want the same thing. Like, I went to college. I wanted to go to college. I planned on working when I had kids. But, you know, things change, life happens, and it just kind of worked out that way. You're rich. False. I wish. I'm not rich. I would say that we are comfortable. We don't live beyond our means. We save really well. We don't have debt. We work really hard for what we have. You are super cool and love your life. Well, thank you. I do love my life. You are the most supportive and loving mother and wife. I would like to think so. I don't think my family would disagree with that. No assumptions, just thank you for always replying to DMs. You are gold. No, you're welcome. It's important to me. You're a spiritual person. Yeah, I would consider myself a spiritual person. Again, it's not something I talk about often, but when Addie was first diagnosed, like, I wouldn't have gotten through it, I don't think, without God. You're not a yeller. I'm naturally not a yeller, but my kids will drive me to yell at some point. You are a naturally empathetic person and care for others so deeply. This is so true, and I feel like to a fault sometimes, to where I don't want to say that I care too much, but I become entrenched in other people's situations that have nothing to do with me, that don't even know me, and sometimes that could cause me to, like, obsess, but not in a good way, and then I start to, like, worry about my own situation and those things happening to my kids. So sometimes, like, I have a hard time separating, like, just focusing on my family and my reality, and separating, like, what's going on in the outside world, because sometimes I do, like, I do care, like, a lot. We're a cheerleader in high school. False, false, and false. I was never a cheerleader, never wanted to be a cheerleader, although when we had to graduate high school, I think I needed like 60 hours of community service, and those 60 hours were all done coaching little girls cheerleading. So funny how that worked out, but I was never a cheerleader. Am I right in assuming you're a smoke show? That's my husband. You would like to have a girl next so you can have 2 of each, but ultimately you're happy either. This is false. I actually don't care what I have, but if I'm being honest, I kind of would prefer a boy, only because I love the idea of Addie being the only girl and having, like, all these protectors around her. I was the only girl with my 2 brothers, and I loved it. My brothers, they had my back. They still have my back. Just being the only girl in the family was, like, super special to me. So I kind of would love that for Addie, and I would love the idea of, like, having a little buddy for Bentley, even though I know if it was a girl, like, they'd be just as close. Either way, I would be excited. Either way, I'm really looking forward to finding out. We find out this week. You are grossed out by fast food. Not a lot of it. Definitely not grossed out by Chick-fil-A. I wouldn't say I'm grossed out. I try to eat really clean, and I'm very conscious about what I'm putting in my body. And so fast food just isn't, like, something I would go to, like, if I'm hungry. I wouldn't be like, let me go through the drive-thru. That's just not natural. Like, people make fun of me and don't believe me, but when I say, like, if I had a McDonald's meal on one hand and, like, a salad offered to me, I would take the salad any day. Not because it's healthier or better for you, but, like, I just prefer to eat salad. I just love the taste of salad. Dan makes fun of me all the time. He's like, just go eat your greens and your kale, but I love that. And I would prefer that any day. Like, at a party, you will find me at the veggie tray before you will find me at the chips. Okay, I have a little visitor here with me now. You have a potty mouth in real life. This is so true. I have the worst potty mouth. You guys would, your ears would bleed. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. It's not like every other word out of my mouth is bad, but I like a good F-bomb from time to time. Another one, you would love to have another girl. You and Dan actually argue a lot and put on a show for your Instagram. Do people really think this? That's definitely false. Do we argue? Yeah, we argue like everybody else does, but I definitely don't say that we put on a show for Instagram. That would be weird. I don't put on a show, period, by myself or with Dan. What is the point of that? We spend a lot of money on Starbucks. This is true. That's our vice. But as I always say, for some it's cigarettes and alcohol. I don't think Starbucks is all that bad. Your kids will always look like you. Sorry, Dan. Well, I don't know. We'll see. But I have a feeling if this one's a boy, he will probably look nothing like Bentley and all like Dan. Dan and Louis were both blonde as babies. I'm like, if it's a boy, I'm like praying for a little blondie. Could you imagine? Dan and his brother resemble each other, but I feel like they don't, like looking back at pictures when they were younger, they don't look alike. Like you could tell they're in the same family, but they don't look alike. And I picture if I have a boy, it'll be like the same way. You are very sweet and kind, same off camera as on camera. I think people in my life would agree with this. I, again, don't try to like portray something I'm not. You have naturally curly hair. That is true. Although I will say, as I've had kids, it's definitely relaxed a lot. So if I let it air dry, I would still get a lot of wave, but I don't get that like kinky curl that I once had. You know a little Greek. So I can't speak Greek all that well, but if I'm around it, I can understand quite well. You are 5'5". I'm actually 5'4". You weren't close to your brothers, but you are when you were younger, but you are now. That's false. I've always been close to my brothers growing up, and even more so now. I always said growing up, like my brothers and I, to me, it seemed like we had a very different dynamic. Like we got along really well. There was very little arguments between my brothers and I. Compared to like what my friends would tell me and how they would fight with their siblings, I didn't experience that. You were the popular girl in school and got all the guys. This is so false. I was not popular in high school, period. I was never popular, and I definitely did not get all the guys. You are a health nut. Love you. Yes, I'm a health nut because I think it's important to be conscious of what we're putting in our bodies. Loyal, maybe even to a fault. This is so true. Hit the nail right on the head. You and your husband work hard and play hard. True. That you are a super patient mama. You seem so relaxed and natural as a mom. Becoming a mom has definitely helped me to become more patient. Patient as a mom, yes. I'm not like short-tempered, but I get frustrated. Dating has always come easily to you. I had like a serious boyfriend in high school. I dated a lot through college. I guess that came pretty easy to me because I think in college everybody is like dating and there's always like new people around. You had an amazing childhood and parents, 100%. I used to be very naive and thinking that like everybody had the same like upbringing and childhood and parents as I did, but as I've gotten older and had a lot of life experiences and met a lot of people throughout my life, I have realized just how fortunate I am to have had the childhood that I have. It's like what I aspire for my kids to have too, because I had such a great childhood. You're always in control of your life and know exactly what to do. Am I a control freak? Yes. I'm not always in my control. There are things in my life that I would not have wanted to go the way that they have, but I've definitely become less of a control freak and more of a roll with the punches kind of a girl. Live the life you imagined when you were 16, minus the divorce. That's true. I mean, I always imagined like having a family, being a mom, having a good, healthy marriage. I kind of always like wanted what my parents have, and I feel like I feel like I have that. And how you have the how to handle kids thing down pat. I'm dying over here with my 3-year-old. I definitely don't have it all together, and I definitely don't have all the answers, but I feel like I'd consider myself pretty well versed in handling kids, but there's still things I'm learning like every single day when it comes to being a mom. You're a super sweet and great friend. I think so. I hope that my friends think that. Your diet and figure are extremely important to you. You love being thin. This is false. I've said this before, but I don't eat clean and eat healthy because I want to keep and maintain like a figure. Bentley's like playing with the camera adjustments. What are you doing? Okay, can you leave it alone? Don't touch it. You could break it. I don't eat the way that I eat to stay thin. I'm health conscious because of what I'm putting in my body. One point in my life, I was not thin, and I never was like insecure or self-conscious or tried to lose weight or did dieting. It was definitely not something I ever gave a second thought to. Like, I never, back then, never thought I was overweight or needed to lose weight or tried to lose weight. Don't deprive myself of eating things. Like, I don't like count calories, and I'm not working out right now. If I was like super super weight conscious, I would be at the gym, like, ever. I haven't been to the gym since I was 6 months pregnant with Bentley. So I eat clean because I enjoy eating that way, and I think it's important. But I would definitely not say that my figure is important to me, and I think Dan, my parents, would agree. We're really good with money. I think this is true. I manage the money in our house. I actually really enjoy it. Like, I still keep checkbooks, and I really enjoy balancing them and like knowing what's coming in and going out. You're body confident. Yes, I would say I'm body confident. You're a Republican. Again, this is not something that I ever bring up on my channel because I just don't feel like it's the place for it. But I will say that I was raised in a Republican household, but I have voted Democrat before, but I've also voted Republican. I kind of just vote for whichever candidate and whatever they stand for. I wouldn't say that I'm like steadfast Republican. I pay attention to what's going on, but I don't let it consume me. You've never got drunk before. False. I was drunk a lot in college. I assume you have a love for clothes and fashion, as I do. You assume correctly. But what happened with Nick was horrible. You're grateful for the outcome. 100%. Like, if you gave me a genie and said you could go back and like change things, I wouldn't change a single thing. I wouldn't have Addie, and I wouldn't have grown into the person that I am, and like, I don't think become as strong as I have. Never let your kids eat Cheetos or chips. This is false. Addie's vice is salt and vinegar chips. We definitely let our kids be kids and splurge and have things like that. Do I tend to pack their lunches on the more healthy side? Yeah. But I give them Oreos, chocolate chip cookies, and salt and vinegar chips. And while I've definitely become way more aware and conscious of what Addie specifically is eating because of her diagnosis, I still want her to be a kid, and I still don't want her to be at a birthday party watching everybody else eat pizza and cake and saying like, you can't have that. I feel like that's too extreme. And while I'm not getting her like Starbucks Frappuccinos every day, I don't find any harm in like once in a while. Are we brushing our teeth? Get super sad and emotional when Addie leaves for her dad, but grateful. Not anymore. When she was younger, definitely so much harder because she would cry, she couldn't talk. That was definitely a lot harder, but now that she's older and she can communicate things, she can tell me everything, and I trust her dad like 100% and beyond. So I know she's in good hands, and she adores her dad. So no, I don't get sad anymore. I get really excited for her. I love that she has a great relationship with her dad, and I love that she enjoys going there so much. You're pretty laid back about things for the most part, but you can get OCD if need be. True, 100% true. Dan never stopped loving you. He adores you to the max. He would probably agree with that. You are easygoing. You are the easygoing one between you and Dan. This is probably false, believe it or not. I think he's way more easygoing and way more laid back than I am. I spend a lot of money shopping, LOL, but so do I. Yes, I do, but I also consider it kind of like part of my work, so it's kind of amazing in that regard. You've never even once considered giving up despite all you've been through. I don't know if that means like giving up on life or giving up on what exactly, but I'm not a quitter. Naturally not a quitter, and I think that's something I got from my parents. You are an overachiever. In high school, I was my harshest critic. I was harder on myself than my parents even were. Like, I would come home like all bummed out. My mom would ask me like, what's wrong? I'm like, I gotta be on my test. And she'd be like, that's really good. I'm like, no, it's not. So I was definitely an overachiever in that regard. But in life, like, I don't really consider myself like an overachiever in life. Bentley crying downstairs. He's with Dan, but I just wanna go see what's going on. So I just refreshed. There's like 4 more that came in, so I'm gonna just do them really quick. I'm assuming you wanna quit watching Batch, but Dan won't let you quit, LOL. No, that's false. As much as I like knock on The Bachelor, it's a guilty pleasure, and I don't think I'll ever stop watching. I assume you don't like to cook. Ugh, it depends what it is. I'd much rather bake, but I don't mind cooking. I wouldn't say that I love cooking, but I don't mind it. Your divorce was easy for you. You made it look graceful and easy. My divorce was not easy. What a lot of you guys don't realize is like I didn't share my divorce story until months and months after. So I feel like I came across very like okay, but you have to keep in mind some time had healed. It wasn't like everything just happened and I came on and shared it. I had processed a lot. So by the time that I did share what was going on with you guys, I was definitely in a much better mind frame. I hate to say this, but I do get quite often messages, emails from people that like just newly are going through a divorce, just newly found out their ex cheated on them, and they're like, how did you get through it? You made it look so easy. How do I survive this? You guys, like when it first happened, I didn't think I was ever gonna smile again. Like I remember crying to my best friend and my mom. Like I could cry just thinking about it right now because it was such a dark place for me. But I remember crying to them and just saying like, I'm never gonna smile again. Like I'm never gonna be happy again. Like nothing excited me, nothing, I wasn't looking forward to anything. I was so afraid of what the future would look like and like doing this on my own with Addie. My divorce was dark. It was a dark period, especially too because I hadn't come from a divorce. I didn't know anybody that had gone through a divorce, like nobody in my family, none of my friends, like divorce was very foreign to me. And so it was just a really like scary place to be. Like I had not one person that I could call and just say like, how did you get through this? How do I get through this? Like help me out here. Like I remember just Google searching and trying to find YouTube videos and just like people that I could just find some people to relate to. And so that's why when I do get those messages, I get really sad because it takes me back to like how I felt and I just feel for that person so much. But also like I'm so happy that I can be that for some people because I didn't have that. It was like alone and it was scary. And the best part about you guys reaching out and sharing something so personal with me is those follow-up emails that I get like a year later, 2 years later, that are like, I don't know if you remember me, but I messaged you a year ago when my whole world was falling apart and I just want to let you know what's going on. And I met this guy and I'm living my life and I'm so happy or whatever. Like, it's like, oh, like the fact that you included me in part of that journey and to see you go from like the dumps where I was to like rising above, there's just no greater feeling to like share in that. And the one thing that I always say is like, there's hope. Like if I could get through it, you could get through it. And just because it might have looked easy for me, like does not mean that it was easy. You also have to remember, I wasn't gonna like come on and like cry all the time and like be a sob story. I wanted to see the positive and I wanted to be inspiring and I wanted to, you know, get through it and help others too. So I'm really glad that I shared my story. It's something that I will never regret. But even though I may have looked easy, it was not easy. The good news is like I became so much stronger because of it, and it humbled me and it turned me into like a completely different person that it actually kind of scares me looking back. Like if I didn't have an experience like that, like could I be where I am now? I don't think that I would be. I don't think I would be this person had I not gone through that. So I'm really grateful for the experience because I feel like beforehand I was kind of just living this like in my mind like fairy tale life that now I'm like, there's no such thing as fairy tales. Like I love a good love story, but life is hard, and I think I really needed that to just like shake me and wake me up from this like dreamland. And it also made me really aware that like bad things happen to good people and bad things happen, and just because you don't plan for them or see them happening, like they happen and they happen to everyone. And it's not what happens to you, but kind of like how you get through those things that turn you into the person that you are, and I think make you stronger. So I think that's a good place to end. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm not sure if any of these were like shockers to you. I feel like if you've been watching my videos for a while, you probably have a pretty good sense of who I am, and I don't know that any of these will have shocked you, but I hope you enjoyed the video nonetheless. Thank you for hanging out. I know it was a long one, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.